Hello and good to have you with us this morning. From Seoul, I'm Mark Broom, filling in for Lee Jae-yong. Let's take a look at what's coming up on today's edition of Business Daily. Korea's drive to build a creative economy and the innovation centres behind it. How have they been helping new businesses? In the absence of his sick father, Samsung Electronics' Lee Jae-yong has been running the show for over a year at Korea's biggest corporation. How has he fared so far? These stories and more coming right up. The Korean government is very concerned with slowing exports and is working on a comprehensive plan to spur trade, which it will release next month. In a press briefing, Korea's Vice Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy, Lee Sop, said he was worried about the slowing pace of both imports and exports this year. Noting the already low levels of trade globally, he said the appreciating won has not helped the landscape for Korea's main driver of economic growth, namely exports. He said another worrisome factor is the overall value, not only the volume of trade is shrinking, as that trend points to dipping competitiveness as a whole. In terms of the consumer market in Korea, it's showing signs of improvement, leading to a more positive outlook for the domestic economy in the second quarter. Experts have predicted April would be an important month in determining the strength of the economic recovery, as it would indicate whether feeble signs of improvement from the first quarter would carry through. Performance in the sectors of fashion, real estate and automobiles all saw a lift last month, with the country's largest supermarket chain, E-Mart, posting 6% growth on year. And Korea could have the fourth largest stake in the China-led Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank when it launches later this year. At a press luncheon, Korea's Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan told reporters that the stakes are to be divided based on GDP and purchasing power parity, or PPP, by a 6-to-4 ratio. And Korea is expected to take the biggest share of the pie after China, India and Russia. Almost all Asian countries have applied for membership aside from Japan, with the current number of states that have officially joined standing at 57. More than 1 year has passed since Samsung Electronics chairman Lee Kun-hee suffered a massive heart attack and was hospitalized. In his absence, his only son, Lee Jae-yong, has been at the helm. How has the company's heir apparent done so far? Our Eunice Kim has a story.
Within English-speaking circles, he simply goes by Jay. And in the past year, Samsung Electronics' second-in-command Lee Jae-yong has been seen hosting China's leader Xi Jinping, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, and just last week, Korea's President Park Kun-hee in the unveiling of the biggest semiconductor plant investment the world has ever seen. Despite being groomed for years, there have been concerns the only son of the famously charismatic Samsung chairman Lee Kun-hee was still untested. But figures show the company under the younger Lee is on a rebound. Since the sharp dip in the third quarter of last year, following news of Lee Kun-hee's sudden and prolonged hospitalization, the tech giant's operating profit has been steadily recovering, and some are estimating its second quarter performance will even exceed figures reached a year earlier. It's also back on top in smartphones, beating out arch-rival Apple in market share. And that difference could very well grow on the back of its Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge, received with wide acclaim.
It seems this is a transitionary time for Samsung Group as a whole. There is, of course, the factor of Lee Kun-hee's health, but this very well could be the linchpin for the next generation of growth at the conglomerate.
Those who know him say the 46-year-old's leadership style is more hands-on, more detail-oriented, unlike his father often taking important memos by text message and traveling without a large security detail. And while the greater Samsung Group has been mum on any succession plans, what's undeniable is that it has been on the move, acquiring 8 foreign companies in the past year, including the U.S. mobile payments company LoopPay, with reported plans to roll out Samsung Pay later this year. It's also sold off some of its units, including its petrochemicals and defense industry arms, to Hanwha last year. Heading a conglomerate as high-profile and as influential comes with great scrutiny, and experts underline that the leader-in-waiting's biggest task ahead will be to identify Samsung's and, by extension, Korea's future growth engines, beyond its strength in smartphones and semiconductors. Eunice Kim, Business Daily.
A nationwide chain of startup support centres, creative economy innovation centres, are at the heart of President Park Geun-hye's drive for boosting entrepreneurship. With just 1 month to go until the government completes its launch of 17 centres across the country, our Song Ji-sun went to check up on the current state of operations. Welcome to the show, Ji-sun.
Good to see you here, Mark.
So, for our overseas viewers who might not be overly familiar with the concept, what are these innovation centres?
Well, since taking office, President Park Geun-hye has been stressing the importance of startups in seeking future growth engines and exploring new business opportunities. And these centers offer one-stop services to help launch new businesses. And I went to see how these centers are accommodating startups and how they, in turn, are making use of the facilities. Let's take a look.
Open to any individual or company wanting to start a business, with one-on-one mentoring services and customized support, from legal advice to patent sharing. These are just some of the benefits offered when you enter Korea's Centers for Creative Economy and Innovation. With the latest edition of the Gangwon-do Center, which opened its doors on Monday, there are now 10 innovation centers up and running nationwide, and 7 more slated to launch within the first half of this year.
Like this center in Korea's IT and online games capital, Pangyo, also known as the Techno Valley, all innovation centers are established in areas that can maximize synergy for a designated industry by connecting startups to large companies that can lend them a helping hand. Since the Gyeonggi Innovation Center opened at the heart of this tech-savvy district, just a dozen kilometers south of the capital, this startup with just 9 employees and 3 years of history landed an office here with free rent for 6 months thanks to its award-winning smartphone application that converts a non-touch display into a temporary touchscreen, matching infrared rate points with a special touch pen.
We wanted to make a ubiquitous classroom or meeting rooms anywhere by utilizing smart devices that almost everyone has these days. Instead of equipping offices with expensive projectors and large instruments, our app enables up to 30 people to simultaneously write and share this blackboard online.
Startups that are still trying to develop the next big thing can test their products at these state-of-the-art labs free of charge. Large companies based in the region foot the bill for maintaining these centers for startups, but it ends up being a win-win situation for all involved.
Large companies leading these innovation centers can provide startups with their already established network from financing to overseas clientele, but they also benefit by collaborating with startups as they can enhance their supply chain by outsourcing with the smaller firms.
Once they successfully launch their businesses, startups can then look for opportunities abroad through the global network of startup support centers and overseas branches of KIC or Korea Innovation Centers.
So, Ji-sun, what kind of opportunities are these startups provided with then?
Well, Seoul will send selected companies to international fairs like the Mobile World Congress to exhibit their products. And to start off with that, the first 3 firms will fly to Paris next month to actually attend an event by the Orange Fab, which is an accelerator in Paris. And of course, the government will also hold a foreign investors fair at the end of this year as another platform to exhibit results of its creative economy drive.
And it looks as though these efforts to boost entrepreneurship have been noticed outside of Korea as well.
Right, Seoul now has a startup support center of a global company from the Silicon Valley right at the heart of Seoul in Gangnam district. It is Google's Seoul campus, the first to open in Asia, which will also have smaller firms get direct help from the large. International companies with expertise will give direct hand to these companies. Take a look at this next report by Lee Jae-yong.
These engineers from a Korean startup company are working on a smartwatch for the visually impaired, which uses Braille to allow users to read the information appearing on the phone screen. The company's Braille watch has been praised for its small and effective design, but the firm has been repeatedly turned down by investors who doubt the phone's profitability.
Almost all of the investors we've encountered would question the business value and its marketability. That always made it tough.
Fledgling companies in Korea typically struggle with similar problems. This is why expectations are high for the grand opening of Asia's first Google campus in the glitzy district of Gangnam in Seoul. The operation aims to make it easier for startups to receive support from larger companies, as noted by one of Korea's leading telecommunications companies.
We want to create a virtuous cycle between large companies and startups so we can all coexist.
The 2,000 square meter space, which opened last week, will provide workspace, group meetings, and networking events to help companies exchange ideas with overseas firms based near other campuses like Google London and Tel Aviv. Participating startups will also be able to receive consultation from Google experts and have the chance to sit in on lectures related to marketing, finance, and technology. Google says it picked Seoul as its first campus in Asia because of Korea's fast internet speed, a large pool of well-educated engineers, and one of the highest smartphone penetration rates in the world. With Campus London facilitating worth $110 million in investment deals and generating more than 1,800 jobs over the past 3 years, expectations are also high for the Seoul campus in Korea. Lee Jae-yong, Business Daily.
Well, Ji-sun, judging by that report there by our Jae-yong, it seems really that the concept for the Google campus is not that much different from the concept of these innovation centers here in Korea.
That's right. I see that they're very identical from the concept to their service provided. And on top of the programs provided at the Google campus here in Seoul, they can also exchange with the branches in Tel Aviv and London. And on top of that, Google campus also offers a specialized program for mothers who wish to start their businesses and even offer daycare services. So that's a very good plus for women who want to start their businesses. And Seoul says the launch of Google's third campus in the world and the first in Asia here in Seoul also reflects its efforts to enhance its global outreach, and that Google has recognized the potential as a tech city and a startup hub as Seoul and its potentials for the future.
Well, it's certainly very exciting that Google are opening a campus here in Seoul, and let's hope that we see more Korean startups expanding overseas, and hopefully that contributes to the Korean economy. Well, thank you very much for your report, Ji-sun.
Pleasure.
Well, that does it for us. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with more of the business news that matters to you. As always, thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. Goodbye.